Oh, that was fucking smart, you fucking idiot. So now I'm going to pull the carrier out. First thing to do is mark the sides. You can use a punch. I just use a cold chisel, so my punch isn't here. But you just put a little indentation there, an indentation there, and there's two arrows. You can see like crow's feet that point these out, so you know this one goes here, so there's really no need to mark the other side. If you haven't watched the first video, this is basically talking about if you own a 2003 to 2012 Crown Vic, or you have an F100 with a 2003 to 2012 Crown Vic chassis underneath it. This is an easy way to shorten your axle, narrow your axle in the rear so you can run bigger wheels with a lower offset and not have to cut an axle down or any of that. I'm gonna measure this, but I've read pretty positive it's 2 to 2.5 inches on each side. It narrows this axle in. So I'll get this out of the way, get the carrier out of here. Relatively easy. Great. Well, since the old pry bar wasn't getting it, I improvised with almost like a jack shaft. Show you what it is when I get the thing out. Basically used one of the old spider gears with a nut behind it, and there's a little boss down here where the pin hits, and I just ran on a piece of all-thread rod to that and literally just turned it, and it just pulled the carrier right out. So now that all that's out, now it's on to getting the rest of this fluid out of here and pulling the pinion out. Now the important thing to remember about these two is these are factory set for the preload that is in here. So what I'm going to do is measure each of these with a caliper, write the number down, and then when this goes back together, obviously there is no adjustment in these two. There's usually, well, I don't know if there's usually, but I've seen people rebuilding these before, and there's a few different sizes that make up this thickness of each of these. Well, there's nothing in here, so what I ultimately might do is order a shim pack and basically make up what each of these is, or order a couple thousandths or something, and take these to a machine shop and have them put them on a surface grinder and knock, you know, 6, 7, 8 thousandths off each of these, then you'll actually have the adjustment back and forth you need to move it. But who knows, maybe this thing will go back in and it'll line right up and the teeth will be good and everything will work right out, but probably not. So in order to take this pinion off, you got to hold the flange yoke. You don't need a special tool really to hold the flange yoke to tap it. So I was going to put 2 bolts in this to remove the pinion nut, but these holes were really crapped up with little rust and crud and stuff like that, so I started sprayed them out with a little WD-40, and they're metric 12 by 175, so just clean them out. And they make a special tool for this that basically has a U with 2 bolt holes and a bar for torquing it. When you put it back together, you can also use it to take it apart. I'm just going to put 2 bolts in it for now and put a pry bar across it and just break it loose. When I put it back on, when it has to actually be torqued down, I'll probably make something at work that will straddle it, that I can put bolts on it so you can actually, you know, have more control over torquing this down, because if you go past and it messes up the crush washer in here, you have to take it apart and do it all over again. So hopefully hopefully it'll be relatively easy. I don't know, we'll see. That. And also something to remember, when you get a new nut to put this thing back together, when it gets torqued down, you cannot reuse this nut. This nut is a one-time use only. So if you torque it down and realize something's screwed up along the way, you got to put a new nut on it. I don't know if this thing will come off, or I got to put a puller on it. Might just be easy enough to put a... I think I got a steering wheel puller that'll work for this. Yeah. Well, the steering wheel puller would have worked great for this, but... Oh, you know what? Never mind. Yeah, the bolts won't fit through there, and the span to get across this isn't long enough. Oh well. Go find the 3-jaw now. Easiest way to get the seals out of this thing, especially, well, since it's not in the car. Imagine if it was in the car, it'd be a little bit more of a pain in the ass to do all this. But this whole drum brake parking plate. Just unbolts and comes right off. I mean, obviously there's the cables and stuff like that, but you don't have to worry about hydraulic lines to a wheel cylinder like the older style ones. This is completely set up for cable. Yeah, if you watched at the beginning of the video when I snatched my finger away, I've found out that Ford makes these nuts and they have a stop on them, if you can see that. So once you put it in and you tighten it, the stop, if the nut spins, the stop swings around and hits the axle, and then you can tighten it. Well, me not messing with these a lot, stuck my finger behind here and it hit the impact and it rolled the foot around right on my finger, but luckily I got out of the way. It did get it, but not bad. So, if you've seen people take seals and bearings out of axles, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. The only thing I did find out on the other side, because that's where I kind of tested this out to see what would work and what wouldn't work, is this style of seal puller doesn't really work for these. I tried on the other one and did it, and all it does is rip the seal apart. So the best thing I found to do is I have just a regular old punch, flat tip punch, and a cold chisel. You take the punch, and there's a little lip flange around the edge of this, and you just tap it and get it out of the way, and then you can put the cold chisel in right behind it once you've moved out of here and pop this right out. Bearings, I have an inter-roll bearing slide hammer, but it doesn't go up to these size bearings. So what I've seen a few people do is they'll slide a tube in here and go from the inside and hit out this way, and it'll drive that bearing out. So that's what I'm gonna do on both ends, so I'll save you the agony of watching me try to rip and beat this seal out of here. So there's the difference in the two seals, what I was talking about. Completely ripping this one apart, and then this one, you know, obviously it's not brand new, but it looks a lot better. Well, I don't have a 3-jaw puller for this, so at least I can't find it. I found one that's too small. It won't reach around this. So if I can't find the other one, I'll end up just making another piece at work to just run a rod into this with 2 holes to put bolts in and just rip it off. So, yep. Well, if you're looking for the Nissan, there's all my 5/8 for this guy. I'm just debating on where I originally set the hoop to be as close to this as possible, but I'm wondering if it's going to benefit me if I move it in just a hair. When these door bars come out, they won't get into the cab right here. So yeah, I don't know, we'll see. I already started the video for that, designing it in Bentech and all that good stuff. So yeah, hopefully, yeah, tomorrow maybe I'll mess with this and do some other stuff and, you know, see what happens.